Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, hello. Yeah. I thought about it. It was either go live now or go do a whole bunch of stuff. I was like gonna get drinks and then get all the fencing material I need. But it's raining. You know, I thought I might do it after lunch anyway, so that's the only reason I didn't. Or we can go at lunch. I don't mind.
Your blood will boil.
Hey, Frosty, it's alright. It's going pretty good. I was wanting to do a 420 stream yesterday, but I 420'd myself into oblivion, pretty much. before I had a chance. See, what had happened is I got this stuff called diamonds, and it's like 86% THC, and it looks like little fucking rocks of crack in there is what it looks like, but yeah, or like sugar, maybe. With that shit, put you to sleep, apparently. It's real good. Oh yeah, it's great. Slept like a freaking log last night. Well, and I had some stuff to do yesterday too. That I thought would take no time at all, but you know, my daughter had a choir thing to do today, like a state choir concert type thing that she's performing in, and the dress she was wearing was all fooked. It was needing to be hemmed at the bottom, basically, you know, or where you hem anything, I guess. But either way, it was needing to be hemmed. Pretty much half the dress needed to be hemmed, and she was like, "I'll just safety pin it." And I was like, "Oh, I can sew." And I was like, "I'll sew that up in 5 minutes." And then about 4 hours later, I was done. Hey, what's up, zombie boss? Yeah, Frosty. She's only like a sophomore in high school, but for the last couple years now, she's been like the go-to pick for singing the national anthem at like all the sporting events here in town and stuff. Because, well, maybe not all of them, you know, but she's sang at a bunch of different like football games and shit, you know, just different places. Because she's clearly the best at it here in town. We do live in a small town, but. You know, she's a really good singer. She's got a really good voice.
Thanks.
I am overburdened. I am overburdened.
Yeah, you are.
Good day.
But I honestly didn't mind sewing for that long last night or whatever, because I had forgotten how to sew pretty much, or not really how to sew, but like, I don't know. If you don't do something with your hands, even if you know how to do it, you're not going to be able to do it as well as you would like to, you know. So I was pretty much using it as a means to practice and get better at sewing, even though I have no desire to sew anything. I just, you know, I'd like to be good at what I know how to do. Just in case, you know, we live in a world where shit's pretty crazy, and you might need to know how to sew your clothes, you know. You might end up
I am overburdened.
having to sew everything you got just to keep it. Yeah, my dad taught me how to sew leather when I was a kid, which was really hard. And then,
Good day.
you know, in school and stuff, like we had home ec. So it's called home economics. It was like how to cook and how to sew and all that crap. I really actually liked that class. And, you know, it was mainly because when I was a kid, we didn't have any money. And so I couldn't bring money to school for lunch or whatever. So if I didn't like lunch, I just didn't eat. Which I know that sounds picky or whatever, but, you know, it is what it is. So there was a lot of days that I wouldn't eat lunch. But, you know, if we made some food in home ec, it was usually something really good. So that was, like, the main reason I wanted that class, basically, was so that I could make myself food. But then, you know, we also had to sew a lot of shit in that class, which was kind of fun. I remember the first thing we had to make was like our own little wall hanger organizer thing. It was definitely something all the girls wanted in their lockers, you know. None of us guys really gave a shit, but for me it was all about the food. No, Dwayne was watching YouTube the last I saw. Yeah, he's still on the tubes. He's probably learning how to sew. Well, let me ask you a question. Does your mother sew? Boom! Get her to sew that. Oh, here's some of that. And he died, and he gave me a frickin' shale rune. Great. And let's see, we got a ninja star, square. It's gonna be the circle with the smiley.
Seekers.
Circle with a smiley, circle with a smiley. Oh, that's a circle. Smiley. Square. Ninja star. Chevrons. Triangle. It's gonna be the last damn one, isn't it? Circle with a smiley. Hey, Doug, what's up, dude? Yeah. I somehow have managed to get myself into Diablo 2 Resurrected, like, just months before it come out, so, you know, I'm really liking this, but I am excited for Diablo 4 as well. It might, you know, I'm hearing a lot of the D2... like D2R players say that if 4 is not good, they're not gonna leave Diablo 2, and I might I might end up doing that as well. I might just stick with 2. I don't know. I liked 3 though. You know, and most of the diehard Diablo 2 players hated 3 for some reason. I still can't figure it out. To me, it's like a faster, more quality of life version of 2, but, you know, I'm crazy, so who knows. But the thing is, though, too, is there's people that have been playing this game for like 20 years, you know, so they're pretty well invested into it. Like, there's literal money in this shit, you know. Oh, dude, that's the wrong button.
I am overburdened.
A sacred glob. I'll play 4 zombie boss. I haven't played Diablo 3 in a couple of years.
Good day.
And with 4 coming just around the corner, it's like not even worth it. Junk. It was almost good though. God, I got too many runes. I found a Mal rune last night. That was kind of exciting. So I've got a Lem, a Mal, a Burr, and an Ist. I need an rune, and I can make stuff. Maybe the Enigma armor, I'm not sure. Like, I think the thing that, you know, the reason why people didn't want to go to 3 is because 2 was just too good. I remember trying to play it a couple years ago. I couldn't even begin to figure it out, you know, because you're like sitting there in the rogue encampment. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. The game really doesn't tell you anything. But once you get past that part, you know, if you can get to where you kind of figure out that, you know, the game is telling you what to do. It's just hard to figure out where or how, you know. It's like you do have a quest log, but some of these quests won't come available till you talk to the right people, you know. And that's what this game is. It's one of those old games where you had to go around talking to everybody, and then eventually, you know, you'd figure out what you're supposed to be doing. But once you've played through, like, one good time, even on, like, normal, you pretty much know the story of, you know, what you're doing, and then it gets a lot easier every time. Like, I know what to do in all acts of the game now. It's just, you know, it gets harder. Nightmare mode, you get, like a 50 or, I think it's 40% increase to the enemy's, well, it's decrease to your resistances, right? So fire, cold, lightning, and poison affect you 50% more. And then when you go to hell mode, it's like 100%. So you have to have a pretty geared up character to survive hell and its lack of resistances. Technically, there's 4 right now, I think, with if you count.
Not in town.
I don't know what it's called, but there I think there is a mobile version of Diablo. I don't know. I think there was an original Diablo as well, like the first one, maybe. I don't really know. Oh yeah, I need town portals. The Durance. Let's go try to die to some dolls. There's these little bastards in here called undead Stygian dolls, but they just call them dolls for short, and they are mean. Like, I'm pretty well over leveled for nightmare difficulty, but the dolls will eat my lunch if I see them. looking for the door. Teleport around until we find it. That's the way into this place. We want the other door. Typical guy. We're not happy with just one door. We want both doors. Where is it? We've been teleporting for days. I woke up to the sound of whoo, 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 whoo. This fucking teleporting sound. How'd that go again? Woo, 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 woo.
I need mana.
Is that what that noise is? Yeah. Every time I teleport, it's... There's an original, then there is also a mobile game, Diablo Immortal, that's what it was called, which is apparently pretty good for a mobile game, I've heard. Dude, I remember the press conference. See, they had released Diablo 3, like, maybe almost, I think it was like almost 10 years ago or something, like 2016 or something. Maybe a little after that, but either way, 3 had come out, and then everybody was kind of disappointed with that, I think, and they were really hoping for Diablo 4. And then, you know, the press conference where they announced Diablo Immortal, all the Diablo 2 fans thought that it was going to be a Diablo 4 announcement. And the guy, I remember the Blizzard team was up on stage like, you know, they were like, what, don't you guys have phones? This fucking guy. He's teleporting around, he's extra strong, he's pissing me off. Suck it, guy. Where are you going, Dragon Hand? How about nowhere? Where you at, Mephisto? I'm just going through and killing all the act bosses for nightmare mode because I need
Greetings.
items and shit. You played DBD Mobile? They recently made a big change to the blood web on Dead by Daylight, which is pretty cool. They made it to where you can just hold down your button on the center icon of the blood web and it will automatically buy whatever it can, pretty much. Or if there's like one item out on an end arm, you can just pick it and it will buy the path to it automatically, and then the entity obviously grabs what it can. But it makes it to where you can actually spend your damn points in a reasonable amount of time, because, you know, Callie plays so much that she will sit there and after just a couple of days, she'll have 2 million blood points, and then you can't earn anymore. So she has to sit there and painfully spend them. And that's actually the worst part of the game, is having to spend the blood points. It got to where, like, when I was ready to take a nap or whatever in the afternoons, I was going downstairs. Well, I only did it like 2 times, I think. But I was going downstairs and, you know, hopping on Callie's Xbox and just spending her blood points for her just to help her out so she could play the damn game more. But yeah, they finally did that, you know, so 6 years later, good job. I don't like mobile, dude. I remember, like, back in like 2009, I got one of those Sony Xperia Play phones, you know, and it was like a Sony made cell phone where you could slide it open, and it had the D-pad and the circle, X, triangle, square, you know, for PlayStation controls, and you could play some mobile games on it pretty well, like better than you could a touchscreen and shit, you know, because you actually had buttons. And I freaking hated it. I was sitting there, why do I want to play on a little 3-inch screen when I've got a whole fucking TV? It's stupid. these guys are fucking mean. All these name dudes here. I had to respec my character yesterday. I was all over the place. This guy don't want to die. You remember that too? It was BlizzCon. Don't you guys have a phone? I think they got booed off the stage. Yeah, the fans were pissed, dude. They were so mad. I remember the one guy stood up. He's like, "Is this some kind of sick April Fool's joke? Like an out-of-season April Fool's joke?" He's like, "Do you guys have any intention to put this on PC at all?" And the devs up there are just like so perplexed with the question. They're like, "What? But we thought everybody had phones. We were told that the whole gaming world was going to phones." Like, I hate to inform you of this, guy, but there's people building PCs that cost like $30,000, and it's just for gaming. You think they want to sit there on their goddamn phone? We're snowing. A broadsword and a bastard sword. Oh, good. All just junk. It's all junk. Everything I find is junk. So I got really mad and uninstalled this game the other day because I just wasn't finding anything good. And then within an hour of playing after the reinstall, I found my Burr rune, which Burr runes are super rare. And I don't think they're like dropping off of normal monsters all the time like mine did. Like people usually farm certain chests or certain bosses hoping to get Burr runes and stuff. And I was just roaming around Act 5 trying to get shit done. Killed a stupid little flesh spawner mob, and it was like, Burr rune. Which is pretty exciting. If I could get an rune right now, I think I could make the armor that I need for this guy. I could actually play the game if I find one more thing.
Stay a while and listen.
Hey, Noel Zombie, what's up, dude?
Hail to you, champion.
Get rid of that piece of shit. Sell that. Sell that. Some of that stuff's actually probably good, but I don't know because I don't play those characters. So yeah, I've been trying to go to like a night streaming schedule, you guys. And that's why I didn't stream basically all week. Because I told myself I was going to stream at night. Like every day of the week. But I was too tired. You know, so I'm trying to flip my sleep pattern around. Which, you know, I don't sleep worth a shit in general. So that's almost impossible for me to do. But I'm working on it. You guys might see a stream here or there in the evening here soon. And I might try to switch to doing it more in the evening. I don't want that. You're in a ton of pain? What the hell? What happened? Oh, you prick.
I am overburdened.
He killed my mans.
Good day.
Greetings.
An ethereal Jangbong war staff. It says Jangbong on it, so we gotta smoke some pot. There's bong in the words. It's the Lord itself. Well, I don't know. Maybe himself. You have what they call a shunt, and it's a tubing that goes from the back of your head to your stomach to drain fluids. When you were born, you had bleeding on the brain and stuff. Fuck. That sounds horrible, dude. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that you're having to live with that. Whoa. Now then. Holy shit. Oh, that's just... Ooh. Just a little bit of brain damage. Yeah, I'm trying to get some right now, actually. It's like they ask you if you were dropped as a kid. It's like, no, I was dribbled. My dad was just like bouncing me off the ground like a yo-yo. Don't you go dying on us. I'll try not to, man, but you know, one of these days it might happen. A lot of people dying on this battlefield. Nothing worth the crap though. Actually, we go area. We'll find crystalline passage. Maybe.
The ain't.
Damn, how are you not gonna take this curse off me, guy? Go all the way over here and talk to Mala. It's not fair. Whoops. Holy undead dolls. Or they're soul killers or whatever they're called. Dead end. Ow! All sorts of death down here. Fucking poison, man.
I need mana. Not enough mana.
Oh shit. Need healing potions. Oh shit. Jesus Christ. Who authorized their speeds? I just go. Need more potions. Your laptop was plugged in and still dying? So you looked and the end was not plugged into the socket? Oh, good. Good. Good.
Afternoon.
I need to get my guy. I wish this chick sold super potions, man. These graders are not, they're not great. We're gonna go in and just die immediately. Oh. Bale, you are annoying as shit. Nobody likes you.
Thanks. I can't use that.
Not enough mana.
I can't use that.
And when I'm trying to give myself mana and shit while fucking trying to use a spell, which has got me giving, or trying to give it to the hireling.
I need mana.
Oh, wow. It's probably terrible. Wait.
Stay a while and listen.
No. Listen to you.
Good afternoon.
It's worth 30,000. I don't know why. Looks like a pile of shit. I've already had one of these already. And apparently they're not recommended. I found this other wand for my Necro. And it's just got a whole list of things on it. It's insane. But I don't know. It might not be as good as the wand I have on him. So we might not end up using it. I've got too many runes. Don't really have a lot of those though. That's weird. I got too many runes, dude. I'm gonna end up... I'm probably just gonna stop grabbing them unless they're, like, IOs are above. Or Hell runes are above or something. Yeah. Let's see where we're at in hell. We're not far. Not far into the game here. The worst thing about hell is the loss of XP. Like, if I die, this bar would go from here to about here. And if I died again, it would go to here. So hell is very tough and unforgiving.
Not in town.
Not in town.
The Order welcomes you.
I want some real potions. Ooh, I only got one key. I do get fairly good XP though. Just for running around out here. Oh my god, they killed my guy. I gotta get some better shit for him. He needs like some really good lifesteal. Because he just cannot survive anything.
Not enough mana.
Oh, yeah. My hireling has insight on his polearm, which gives me mana like crazy, but as soon as he dies, I lose that. Cripes, that thing hit me hard. Are they cold immune? They are. Damn it. Get in the fire. Stop moving. Damn, that brute was hard to kill.
I need mana. I need mana.
If I ever make a sorceress again, I will name her I Need Mana. Because that's all you ever hear her say. Ooh. Go in the tower. Probably get some good XP in here too. Ow.
Not enough mana.
Oh my god, I was running around with all my money.
The Sisterhood,
Which isn't very much right now, but it's all of it.
Greetings.
Anyway, I gotta identify this ring.
Good to see you.
That's crap. If you die, do you lose it all? It'll drop right there, and then I could go back in and get it. But the problem is, when you die, your corpse is laying there too, right? And so all your gear is there. So you're kind of naked. So you have, like, your spells and stuff, but they don't work very well because they're not being buffed by, you know, your gear. So it can be incredibly difficult to go retrieve your body on death. And like I said a minute ago too, if I die I lose XP because it's hell, so it's pretty rough. Sucks losing XP. I'm really close to leveling up, actually, so it's... like, you feel, like, more sketched out. Oh, shit, archers, hell no. Like, I want to level up, which means killing some things, but I also don't want to get killed, so it's like... you know, you gotta be careful. Ghosts and more archers. If you get like just 2 or 3 archers shooting at you from a good distance, you know, or whatever, it can be death. Just gonna teleport to the door, hopefully. Ow. You need to lay down for now? Alright, Noel, have a good one, man. Hopefully your pain subsides, dude, or... you know, I'm not sure how that all works, but... that's gotta be pretty rough, dude. Hopefully you can get some rest. I do have an idea on a totally unrelated topic. God damn, I thought they killed my guy for a second. Well, I'm going to be doing a little add-on to my fence out here so that I can extend my backyard a little bit. And then I'm going to move my throwing knife targets because I have been throwing just a little bit. Like, you know, I've probably done maybe 2 hours in the last couple days of practice. But I'm going to do a video where I'm going to try to do like an hour a day for 30 days and just kind of record my progress and see like how good I get with my knives over 30 days. So the video will be called Throwing Knives for 30 Days to see how good I get, or something like that. I gotta start working on it. As soon as I get this fence done, I'll start working on it. So sometime in like a month and a half there should be a video like that. Death mask. Archers. Oh shit, they're fast. Oh, they're fucking up my dude.
Thanks.
Give him a potion and chill for a second. They'll probably come right out here, though. Maybe not. Maybe. What are these little idiots? Oh my god, they're fast. Ow. Promoted! Sweet. Now if we die, we won't lose really any XP, because you can't de-level. Oh shit, he's fighting them. I like to break all the barrels too, because you never know. Oh, fuck. Off. Jesus Christ, they hit so hard, dude. Die to the fire, you bitches. I guess I can hit him with static field. I am not very good with this tune. I will admit that. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning. You know, I was playing Necromancer and it was a little different. A little easier. Right. Let's see what the Countess is immune to. Oh, shitty. A Tau rune. And some boots.
I can't carry anymore.
Greetings.
The Order welcomes you.
That's not bad, actually. Not even close to what I've got on my feet, game. Not even close. And I was still running around with all my money, I think. The hell? The hell am I doing? Man. What level am I? 68? It's 2 more points. I don't even know what to do right now with my character, you guys, because I don't know how well I'm going to be able to progress. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be too hard to just teleport to Andariel. But she's going to dumpster me. I already know it. Hello! What's up, April?
Not
Sutherland. Oh yeah, it's Nightmare. What am I doing? There's this thing that people do in Lower Cuirass here where you just farm these chests because they're super chests. You gotta find the right building. And I don't know what kind of stuff you actually get from it on Nightmare. I don't think it's really worth it, maybe. Ow. It's like, I think people do this in a different game setting or something where they have way better drop rates. Probably should just do Nightmare bail runs until I feel like I'm gonna die. all the way up. This is a beanie, man. It's covering this giant mop of hair that I've got. Well, it's all slicked back because of my hat, but it's starting to do that, I guess. Don't worry about it. Maybe you just gotta work it out. Hopefully I was helping. Oh, no, I don't know. You missed a lot of streams, April. I didn't really stream all week. I was screwing around, like thinking about streaming at night, I guess, and I was wanting to, and then I was trying to adapt my sleep patterns to that, and I'm pretty much given up on that. Well, not really, but I do plan on trying to do more night streams, basically, or try to switch to nights, because I feel like that's when people are really wanting to watch TV. Like, I'd have more people watching, probably, if I stream at night. I don't know, I probably could stream all the freaking time, honestly, but I don't know. I do want to start making more videos, though. I feel like I haven't really done that in a long time. And, you know, I have no excuse. I've got equipment. I've got ideas. I've got time. I just have the lack of motivation, I guess. But I'm starting to feel a bit motivated these days. I don't know. I really do want to make some videos. Want to really get outdoors, do some stuff out there. Yeah, I know. Gotta force myself to get off my ass. It's the hard part, man. Because as much as I'm sitting here forcing myself to get up, there's also a version of me that's forcing that guy to shut up and stay down.
I am overburdened.
He's just as strong. Bale thinks it's funny. I think he laughs at everything, though. Ow. Ow. Stay back, guy. It's danger over there. Oh, we need way more heals. Not the mana, not the mana. It'll be alright. Forget to use static surge. Let's get the bastard. Ow. He's getting me. Surge. Ow.
mana.
Can't use that.
I am overburdened. I can't carry anymore. I am overburdened.
All right, April, have a good one. Have a good day. What's up, the Suey? I used to be, man, years ago.
Yes?
It wasn't a very fun job, though.
How may I be of
Some
help?
things were fun, but you know, you got to see people at their worst, which is not fun. I did. I survived 420. It was a miracle. I actually didn't hit it as hard as I would have wanted to. No, I didn't have any pepper spray.
Good
All I had
to
was
see
my
you.
fists. And I didn't really use those either. I did use a pressure point on a guy once. And that got him to get off of one of the other officers, which was awesome. And I did like I cut a guy down that was trying to hang himself one time. He was like about to hang himself. And they called for all available officers. So we go back there and I looked in his little window and he had his blanket tied up into the ceiling and he had the other end of it tied around his neck and he was standing up on his table about to jump off. And I looked at him and I was like, "Get down! Don't do it!" And he fucking looked at me like I was crazy. And I knew he was going to do it. So I ran back out to the front where all the other officers were still trying to get the doors open. And it's like they had to manually override the one door on the outside so that we could get the, you know, so we could have both doors open at the same time. And so we opened the outer door. The control room started to open the inner door, and it was on a mechanical runner. And it was opening, but it was opening really slow, like slower than I wanted. So I just grabbed the door and forced it into the wall, like it was like, you know, because the runner mechanism in there was going way too fast. But I didn't give a fuck. I was willing to break that door in order to save this guy. And I went running in there, rounded the corner. He saw me coming, and he jumped off of his table. But as he did, I was like 2 steps away. So it was like 1 step onto his stool, and then my next step I was up on the table myself, and I cut his blanket because I had a pocket knife that I was actually pulling out and unfolding as I was running right at him. And so I managed to cut the blanket, and it was like he hit the end of the blanket right as I did, so it didn't do anything to him, and he actually just dropped. But luckily there was another officer right behind me, a female officer that was right behind me, and she actually caught the guy like before he really hit the ground. So he was fine. He was just, really mentally unstable. It was the dude had accidentally, he was charged with killing his wife of like 50 years, but he said it was an accident, but he had shot her right in the chest with a fucking shotgun. And it was right around the holidays, and inmates get really depressed and shit, like around the holidays. So it was always really bad. There was usually a couple of attempts, right, between like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Oh my God, Darcy's in here. The puppy's at work with you. Just need to watch him to make sure he doesn't, give birth to another puppy out his bum. I just worked there for like 2 years, Suey. I kind of figured out it wasn't for me. Like, I wanted to continue to serve my country, I guess, in some sort of way after I'd got out of the military. But I was dealing with PTSD and, and that place is a pretty violent place. Like, there's a potential to get into fights and stuff all the time, like even as an officer. So, and I was a bit of a wild card, I'll admit. Like, I was not probably fit for the job, and I could tell. So that was one of the reasons why I left, was because I knew, it just wasn't the job for me, basically. There's a lot of cops, I think, that are prior military that probably shouldn't be cops, just because, we've got the training and whatever, but we've also seen maybe too much, to where we don't handle like every situation the best. Like, there's certain situations, like if it's a SWAT situation, we're probably great for that, right? But if it's a situation that needs like a bit more of a gentle approach and it could be resolved in that way, we're probably not the best for that. And I've seen a lot of videos of cops that are just, taking it to the limit, basically, or beyond that, because, they probably have been in some shit, and whether they know it or not, in some ways, you start having flashbacks and stuff about the war or whatever, like, as you're on the job, and, it's how people get shot. All the way up, I seen all sorts of stuff like that, man. You wouldn't be, you'd be pretty amazed, I think, to know what all goes on. It's pretty crazy. There was a guy in the jail. Well, he was an inmate that came to jail all the time. He had like 106 priors. When you pulled up somebody's charges or whatever, he pulled up their name in the computer, it showed right at the top, it showed how many prior arrests they had. And most people, most hard criminals had about 30 or so, right? But this dude had literally 106. And they were all, like criminal trespass. He was just not allowed to go to any business, basically, because he would just cause problems and get kicked out. And then the business would file criminal trespass charges on him, and dude would come to jail and eat the toothpaste. He'd literally live off the toothpaste for the few months that he was there. And he had one leg. And apparently he had a prosthetic leg at some point, but he had lost it somehow. Maybe he'd pawned it. I'm not sure. But either way, it was a situation. So the guy just hopped everywhere in the jail. But he was strong as fuck. Like, from the waist up, the dude was super strong. And his one leg was super strong, too. Like, he was an older guy, but you didn't want to mess with him. And we had to keep that guy in separation pretty much the whole time he was in jail. So he'd be in, solitary confinement pretty much. And, because when he'd first come to jail, he'd maybe be all right. He'd be like, you want to go to general population? And he'd be like, yeah, I'll go there. And then, he'd put him in general pop. And after a couple weeks, he'd be having the whole tank that he was in, all these different inmates would be all pissed off at him, wanting to beat him up. So we'd have to move him because of that, because he would be talking shit to everybody. And then we'd move him into separation. And, when they're in solitary, we have to do 30-minute checks. If they're on a suicide watch, it can go down to 5-minute checks. But either way, it's 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes, an officer's coming around looking in the window to see what these guys are doing. And that particular guy, because the way our shifts would work, we would do 4 hours of checks. So if you got on checks and you were walking around checking all the windows, you'd be doing it for 4 hours straight. So the inmates probably figured that out pretty quick. And if you came to jail 100 times, you know everything about the jail, I'm sure. So this dude knew the jail pretty well. He knew that, when he saw a woman come around and look in that window, 30 minutes later, she'd be back, right? So that dude was notorious for cranking down when the women would come around to do their checks. He would be purposely right there waiting for them. And so, whenever he would be doing that, we would rotate out. They would put one of us guys in, so one of the ladies would probably see it once, basically. But then after that, some guy like me would come by and look, and dude, he'd get so pissed off. I'd open that window and look in there and be like, "What you doing, man?" Like, "Fuck you, bitch." He gets so pissed. Oh man. My first day on the job, I'm walking behind the guy that's training me, and we walked into the female, one of the female tanks, basically. A tank is it's a cell, or it's sometimes they call them pods, we call them tanks, but it's a big room with several cells off to the side, and then you got a day room in the middle, and then there's a little shower cube type thing in the very middle as well. So we're walking through, and we're looking through all the windows, and the guy that's training me opens the window in front of me, looks in there, closes it, keeps moving, doesn't react, nothing. And then so I come and I open the window and I look, and there, standing straight through in the shower, was a very old woman, and she was just in the process of soaping herself up, and I saw her boobs, and they were hanging down very, very low. And it's an image that I can never erase, and I still can't believe how nonchalant my training officer was. He had no reaction to it. I really didn't react to it either, I guess, in hindsight, because I just didn't know what to do. You know, but it's an image that's burned into my memory forever. Oh, they were swinging lower than Miss Chokes on Dick on fucking South Park, dude. It was bad. It was so bad. That was day one. Yeah, it was a crazy job, dude. Crazy as hell. You never knew what was going to be going on. One day, you know, the jail that I worked at was on the fourth, well, initially, because the county that I worked at was like a fairly big county, and we had two different facilities. There was the main facility at the downtown, like where the police station and the sheriff's department and all that was, and then there was another facility out of town, like just on the edge of town, and it held, at the time, it held like 400 or 500 people. And the fourth floor of the courthouse that the sheriff's department and all that was in held, I think we had like just over 200 inmates up there. And it was half women and half men. And it was pretty much like all the men were max security, and then all the women were just a mix of, you know, minimum, medium, and maximum security. And then the other jail out on the edge of town was called MSJ, which meant it was like minimum security jail. It was meant to be just a huge place for minimum securities, but they ended up, you know, having medium and max as well out there. And so, you know, some of the max security guys would go out to the MSJ, but most of the really bad ones would be fourth floor of the courthouse. And that's where I did my first 7 months working at that sheriff's department, or, you know, at that jail, was upstairs. And it was wild, dude. Like I said, there was one day I was coming off the elevator, so, you know, you're riding an elevator up to the fourth floor. All of a sudden the elevator door opens, and all I see is officer, like one after another running past the door, because something is happening down the hallway. And I just, you know, take off running with them, and we get back there, and it's like, you know, it was a fight, basically. We had a guy that was in separation, or he was in an actual isolation cell, like all by himself. And one of the officers was bringing an inmate. You know, there's inmates that work in the jail called trustees, and it's actually a really good, you know, if you ever go to jail, try to become a trustee. But either way, the trustee was gonna mop out this guy's cell, and the officer had opened up the cell, and the inmate that was in there was supposed to just step out and kind of stand in the hallway, you know, but he must have had some kind of beef with the trustee, or maybe he just wanted to get the trustee fired, because if you're involved in a fight as a trustee, you're getting fired, right? So this trustee, he was one of the best ones we had. Like, it really sucked that we had to fire him, and he was fucking just defending himself. Like, it was bullshit. But either way, you know, the officer opened up the door, and that inmate inside there just come out and started swinging on the trustee, and then the fight was on. They were rolling around on the fucking ground, and the inmate that was in that cell was a bad motherfucker. He was a little bit smaller than the trustee, but he was whooping that trustee's ass. And when I got back there in the hallway, you know, it was all of us had to get that guy off that guy. Like, it was fucking crazy. His first name was Ashley, and the guy had scars all over his head and face. Like, you could tell he had lived a life of just fighting. He was a bad man. You know, when you would do your checks and stuff, sometimes, you know, you could spend a few minutes talking to people, and I'd talk to that guy sometimes, and I got to read off him pretty quick. You know, I could tell he was just one that you didn't fuck with, man. There was people like that. Most of the people like that were really quiet. Like, there was guys in each tank, basically, you had a guy that was pretty much the unspoken badass, and he would be the tank boss. He would just be running the fucking place. I don't know, I don't even know all the ins and outs of that side of the bars, I guess, but like, if we had inmates that were like little loudmouths and shit, we would put them into a tank where we knew we had like a good tank boss, because they would keep those guys in line. They'd pretty much rule the tank, and so a guy that would normally be running his mouth and talking all sorts of shit, you come back through, and check and see him in that tank, and he would just be sitting there quiet as hell. Because I'm pretty sure he was getting his ass beat if he caused any trouble. Because the tank boss doesn't want, anything to go on in the tank. Pretty much, if there's anything, that causes problems, basically, then the officers get involved, right? And we'll show up and shake the whole place down. Like we go in and pretty much strip their cells and take all their contraband, which every time we would do shakedowns, there would be a hell of a lot of contraband. You'd find razor blades and all sorts of weird shit. The razor blades would really piss me off because we would have to pass out razors to the inmates pretty much every morning, and there was a system for it, and if you followed the system, you'd get your razors back. But if you were an idiot or, I don't know, lazy or just didn't care, maybe, these inmates would end up with razor blades, which most of the time they would like hook a razor blade into a comb and use it to do like edge cuts on their hair and stuff. You didn't see anybody slashing anybody with them or anything, but that was a possibility, and when you're an officer trying to find stuff too, they would usually stick the blades like in weird cracks on their bunks, and so you couldn't just run your fingers around trying to find them. Like, you have to actually look at everything, like really get under there and look, because you don't want to cut your finger on some dirty razor blade. Well, there was a real situation at that jail too. There was all these metal bunks that had been welded and put into the walls. Basically, they had used like big plate steel and welded like bunks into the walls. I don't know how else to explain it, but there was like cubbies where they had their mats and shit, right? And at the bottom level, there was a piece of weather stripping that was about like almost an inch tall, and I'm sure when they first put it in there, it was probably completely impervious to penetration, right? Like, no inmate was able to force their way through that stuff. But over the years, that shit started to rot away, and some of the inmates figured out that they could get into the crack underneath that bed, and the dudes that had welded all those bunks up, they had took all like the scrap welding rods and chunks of scraps iron and shit, and just tossed it in there and then welded it all up, because they figured, I guess, that nobody would ever be able to get a hold of that stuff. But the inmates figured out how, and you ended up people ended up getting some pretty crazy weapons. Like, one day we had a guy in one of the tanks that kept asking to move, and normally when somebody would want to move to another cell, it would be because, or to another tank, it would be because they had saw their friend or something, right? And they would just want to go be with their friend, and we would try to prevent that, because you don't want people having a good time in jail. Well, and also I think they could like start conspiring and do weird things. But either way, or they might have been involved in a case together, like, and you don't want them talking about it too much, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of crazy reasons. But either way, we weren't moving this guy for like the first couple times he had asked us to move him. And then one day he asked to speak to the lieutenant. Like he wanted to talk to the guy that's pretty much in charge of the whole jail. And so the lieutenant came up and he's like, yeah, I want you guys to come back there with me. You know, he's like, I don't know what this guy wants. So like 5 officers, you know, we all go back there with the lieutenant and we pulled this inmate out. And he comes out and he's like, I want to move to another tank. And the lieutenant was like, why? And he's like, because I got a guy in here messing with me, and if y'all don't move me, I'm going to use this shit on him. And he reached behind him and pulled out a shiv that was more like a one of those Texas pig stickers. You know, it looked like, I mean, it was a knife that he had made, but it was about a foot long. It was really terrifying, actually, to see it. And, you know, he pretty much got tackled, but he did get moved. He got moved straight to SAG for like 30 days for having a fucking crazy weapon. And then he did eventually get moved, you know, to where he wanted to go. He just wanted out of the cell he was in because somebody was really messing with him, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, try not to go to jail. It's not good. It wasn't a really fun job either. Like I said, there's a lot of really sad things went on. You know, you see people at their worst all the time. And you start to see everybody like that too. Like I started to think everybody was guilty of something, you know. Like I can see how that happens to cops, where, you know, they're just, I don't know, you just start to see the negative of everybody, because that's all it is in that world. You know, you're seeing people doing terrible shit. Like we had a guy come to jail, you know, and I knew something was up because they put him straight into separation, you know, and it was weird because he was really nice. It seemed like he hadn't even committed a crime, you know. He just seemed like he was there to hang out, but we had to put him in separation. And I didn't really look into it or anything to see what was going on, but then the police department showed up and they wanted to take pictures of the guy's shoes. And I was like, well, what the fuck, you know? And I hadn't even looked at his charges yet. And but I was, you know, I was in booking, but I was out at the other jail, the big jail where we would house like overflow and stuff. So I hadn't entered his charges in or anything. I just had, you know, put him into his cell basically. And then I had his property and everything in the property room. So the officer come in and he wanted to see the guy's shoes. So I go back to the property room, get the dude's shoes, bring him up front, and the cop was taking pictures of the tread on this guy's shoes. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, we got to see if it matches up to the tread patterns we found on his 19-month-old daughter that was stomped to death. So that guy had stomped his own daughter to death, and then he come to jail just acting like he had done absolutely nothing wrong. It was pretty fucked up.
Yes?
Greetings.
Yeah, the Sui, I believe he was. And he was, you know, it was a tough situation with that guy, because, you know, by all rights he did deserve to be or, you know, he deserved sympathy, because his life was shit. I think in the 80s, he had passed out drunk, and his friends had laid him on the railroad tracks, and that's how he lost his leg. And so, you know, his fucking nickname, even in the computer on our system, was called Boxcar Willie. And it just, you know, like it was a fucking joke. But that guy, you know, it was fucked up. And then, actually, like I said, he would talk shit to everybody, and that was like the worst part of dealing with Willie, was that he just talked shit to everybody. And he ended up getting throat cancer and dying. And he came to jail for the last time when he had really bad throat cancer, and he couldn't talk anymore, and it was really fucked up because you could tell he was pissed, you know, and he wanted to talk shit like crazy, but he just couldn't. It was like, I don't know, it was fucked up. It was like the ultimate karma for him, I guess. But yeah, I know his exact name. I don't want to say any more than what I just said, though. But yeah, he was a character. There was another guy that had come to jail, and for 2 years straight, every time his trial got close, he pretended he was having a heart attack. And then he went to the hospital, and after, you know, 2 years or so, he started trying to claim that he wasn't being allowed a fair and speedy trial, and he was trying to get all his charges dropped. And the judge wasn't having it because the judge felt like he was faking all these fucking heart attacks and shit. And so the judge just said no. And then he went fucking crazy in the jail. And we ended up having to put him in the rubber room, which is not as soft as you would imagine. It's a really, really hard... It's pretty much concrete, but it's rubber. I don't know what kind of rubber this shit is, right? But either way, there's basically nothing in there except a light that's up in the ceiling, and you know, you got to wear the smock when you go in the rubber room. It's like a big dress that's like this really thick material, so you can't rip it, you can't use it to hang yourself, basically. And so this dude was in there for like 2 weeks in the rubber room, and the rubber room was in the office with us, right there at the front desk of the jail floor. So as you're sitting there, the sergeant's at his desk. There's a couple officers sitting there. You got the one guy that's doing checks going around. And then if there's not a meal being served, there will be a couple officers in that general vicinity. Well, this guy, for that 2 weeks in there, he would just be screaming and beating on the light and doing all this shit. And the day crew was, well, we were all told not to let this guy have any kind of containers, you know, no cups, nothing, because he was filling them with pee and poop and then throwing it at us. And so he wasn't allowed to have anything like that. Well, one night he wanted some water, and so Sergeant Jones was the jail floor, you know, he was my shift sergeant. He fucking was going to give him some water, and on the door of the cell there's this thing called a panhole, and it's just like a metal flap that opens up, you know, and that's how you get your tray for your food and your water or whatever. Well, Sergeant Jones was going to pour this dude some water, and the dude had a hold of the styrofoam cup, and he was holding it right there, like at the panhole. Like he had the cup sitting on the flap of the panhole, and he had his hand right there. And then Sergeant Jones was seriously long pouring with this jug, because he didn't want the guy to get the jug at all. So he's holding the jug like 2 feet, I swear to God, like 2 feet above the cup, pouring it. And out of nowhere, that guy's arm was like go-go gadget arm, dude. It was just like yoink. He fucking reached out that panhole, reached up, grabbed that whole fucking jug, and just jerked it right through the hole. And Sergeant Jones was pissed, you know, because he had a hold of that jug. His hand went with it, and he like hit his finger and fucked it up pretty good on the door. And so right away he's pissed off, and he's like, give me that back. And the guy was like, fuck you, bitch, blah blah blah, talking shit. And so Sergeant Jones had a can of X2 OC spray on his hip that, you know, he was like the only guy in the shift that even had spray. And he fucking pulls it out, starts shaking it up. He's like, give me it back. And he's just like, fuck you, bitch, that ain't gonna work. And fucking that guy, whenever he would want to really bow up to us, like if we were gonna open the door, he would turn his back to the door and he'd put his whole foot right at the window. And he was like, go ahead, come on in, because he was basically saying that he was going to kick whoever came in right in the face. And so he turned his back to the door, and Sergeant Jones squatted down and looked at him up through the panhole. And that guy was like, with his back turned to Jones, he looked back at him like this, but he was kind of looking down. And Sergeant Jones just squirted that OC spray right up his freaking nose while he was looking back at him. And he just goes down. Well, then we open the door and we go in there, and this is the first time I'd ever been around OC spray, ever. It hit me like so bad. I was not ready for it. I almost puked on this guy. Like, he's down on the ground already. We're getting handcuffs on him. Sergeant Jones was literally the only guy that could even be in that room with that with this inmate, because the OC spray was intense, dude. I had to get out. I had to get out of the room because I was like gonna throw up, and the, I don't know, it was, you know, burning me in ways that I just was not even anticipating. And then you know, we managed to pull this guy out of the fucking room. Well, he's still kind of resisting, and I was like struggling with him down this hallway, and he jerked back and put his hair right in my face, and his hair was covered in the OC, so I had OC all over my face. And then we get him in the shower, and he's standing there rinsing his face for like 20 minutes straight in the shower, and he had handcuffs on, you know, so he's handcuffed, he's fucking naked, he's standing there just making all these fucking noises into the water. And then he finally gets done rinsing himself, and I'm standing right there in the doorway looking at him, and he was drying himself off, but again, he's handcuffed, you know, so he's got his hands behind his back, but he's somehow, you know, got the mobility to dry himself. But either way, he's drying himself off. I'm standing there looking at him like I'm looking at you guys. Sergeant Jones is down to my right. He yells at me in the hallway. He's like, hey, that guy's cell's ready. And I look down, and I'm like, all right. And as soon as I looked that way, the dude that I was standing here watching, who just got sprayed, he's handcuffed, everything, he fucking speared me like Goldberg. His, like, right as I turn, I look back, and I just see him coming, and his head, like his skull, crashes into my stomach. And luckily I had just enough time to brace for impact, because I seen him coming just enough, you know, that I tensed up. He hit me, and he pretty much bounced backwards enough that I was able to just scoop him, and with both arms I took him, and I twisted, and I fell straight on top of him. And then, you know, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Because it was just, you know, it just pissed me off more than anything. I was like, what do you think you're doing? And then the other officer that was right there next to me in the hallway, like, got on top of his legs so that he wouldn't kick the shit out of us. And then he's fucking freaking out because of that. You know, he was mad because that guy was laying on his legs, and it probably hurt, you know. I don't fucking know. Either way, we had to deal with that guy, and we got him back into the rubber room. And then the next day we come to work, and the guy has a milk carton full of piss and shit, and he's ready to throw it on us. And Sergeant Jones didn't even have any OC anymore, so he's like, screw it, I'm calling DRT. He called the detention response team. So these two dudes show up in like full riot gear, and they had the pepper ball gun, which at the time was probably something nobody had seen. You know, it's like 2007. but it was a paintball gun that shot pepper balls, you know, and you can shoot them into the ceiling and just rain peppery powder onto their fucking asses. So, but this guy knew not to fuck around. So as soon as he saw those guys come off the elevator, he was done. He gave up. He went over to the corner, put his face in the corner, put his hands behind his back. He was done. He had no interest in DRT whatsoever. DRT had some crazy shit. They had a riot shield that could shock the shit out of you. Like, it had all these electrode things on the front of it, and then on the front of it just said Nova, and on the back, on the handles, there was a button, and you push that button and it would be like, you know, and you could hear it going crazy on the front. Like, yeah, DRT was not, you know, you didn't want to mess with them if you're an inmate. That's when the fun's over. But so that was happening on, like, it was like a Wednesday and a Thursday night, and then I had the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. Monday morning, or it was like Monday night, basically, because I worked from 7 at night to 7 in the morning. That Monday night, I come into work and I'm thinking, God damn it, we're gonna have to fight this guy. It's, you know, he's just a pain in the ass to deal with. And Sergeant Jones was supposed to be off work. You know, he had scheduled to be off that day, but when I pulled up, he was there. And so I was like, oh shit, what's going on? And I walked up, you know, to, like, usually our shift, we would just kind of like be hanging out outside for about 15 minutes before we'd have to actually go up and start working. And so I just went over and started talking to all of them, and I was like, what's going on, you guys? And I was like, why are you here, Sergeant Jones? And that guy that we had been dealing with had died that morning. Like, he had apparently had some kind of ulcer in his stomach that had gotten really infected, and, you know, he must have been in the process of dying of it for several weeks maybe leading up to it. But I am pretty sure that when I had to, like, fight him in that hallway, you know, he was probably a lot weaker than he could have been. He was like, this guy was 0% body fat, dude. He looked like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle without a shell. Like, he was just scary, man, because he was really, really slung together. But yeah, he had passed away. It was fucking crazy. Can they sedate somebody who won't stop screaming? We had a chair. There's this thing called the chair, basically, and it's like this really crazy looking chair where you put your hands behind your back and then they strap you down into it, and it's like there's a helmet that they put on you, you know, with a spit visor and all that crap. And then the chair itself is on wheels, so they could just move that whole thing around. But it's a big, you know, it's bigger than my Lazy Boy. Like, the whole setup is pretty massive. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just sitting here telling you guys about a stupid ass job that I had. It was kind of an interesting job. You know, there was some excitement. I did get to somewhat help people, you know, because not everybody that goes to jail is, like, even guilty, you know, for one, but or, you know, whatever they've done, maybe it's not too bad. Like, a lot of this was in College Station, Texas, where Texas A&M is, right? So there's a whole shitload of college kids. You know, on any given night, we'd have some college kids getting arrested for, you know, possession of marijuana or some crazy shit. Something really horrible, right? And when those guys would come to jail, they'd have no idea what to do. You know, they have no experience with jail, and that can be pretty bad, you know. And I don't know, I had kind of a different outlook. Like, I was in booking, you know, and when I would get a group of inmates brought out to my jail to stay there, you know, I would look at their charges, and then I would basically, when they first came in, they would go into a holding cell, and I would have to give them their orientation to jail. I'd explain to them, you know, all the rules of the jail, and then give them their mat and their blanket, cup, all this other crap. And then I would take them back to their cell, and that's where they would spend the rest of their time in jail. That was my job. That's what I was supposed to do. But what I would do is, when these guys would go in the holding cell, I would go in there and I'd say, hey, who thinks they can actually get out? And I'd say, if I give you access to a phone where you can call anybody, can you get out of this jail tonight? And if they said they could, then I wouldn't even bring them back to General Pop. I'd keep them in holding, and one at a time, I'd bring them out and let them use the phone that was right there on my counter. I'd have to, you know, dial 9 to dial out, and it'd have to be a local number. You know, I wasn't like trying to do anything, and I would have to dial it. I would have to stand there and listen to them talk. Basically, you know, they weren't trying to call anybody and yell at them for getting them locked up or anything. It was, you know, they would call usually somebody they knew that would go and talk to a bondsman, because they didn't understand even how to get out of jail. So I would tell them, you're going to have to call a bondsman and have them deal with the bond that is on your charges or whatever. And so, you know, most of these kids would come to jail, all their contacts would be on a cell phone, so they don't even know the phone numbers for people. So a lot of times I'd have to get their cell phone out, sit there, and I couldn't give them their cell phone, but I could look through it myself and find their number, and, you know, with their permission or whatever. So it was a lot of, you know, I wouldn't even say it was above and beyond, but it was just not shit that was my job. And but either way, I felt like it helped everybody, right? Because as a taxpayer, you're going to pay a shitload of money for this person to be in the jail for the weekend, the week, however long it takes them to actually get out of jail. But if I can get them out right now, then that's tax money saved to me. And, you know, I was probably costing the jail money. Like, I don't know. I bet my supervisors might not have liked it. Nobody ever told me that they didn't like it, or to not do it. You know, the guy that trained me in booking, he didn't give a shit. He had been working booking for so long that he would just orientate them, take them straight back to their cell, no questions asked, you know. And like I said, a college kid with no phone numbers, nothing, would get back there. There's 2 phones in the tank. There's 50 inmates. They're scared of all of them. So they're going to be sitting back there in the corner for at least 2 days before they work up the courage to even go up and see if they can get on a phone. Then they got to convince some guy who's been in there a long time, that's probably scarier than shit to them, to get off the phone, right? And so I would watch these kids like you know, like they're afraid to dance at a dance, basically. They're back in the back of the room, just terrified to even ask for help. And so that, you know, that's what I was trying to avoid, basically. And sometimes, you know, because I only worked one shift, there's like 3 other booking officers that worked, you know, the other shifts. So there's a lot of guys that would actually end up in the jail, you know, and they would just need to use a phone, basically. And the phone back there in the tank it was collect calls only, and you couldn't call a cell phone collect. So that was my main motivation of letting these guys use the phone up front. And, you know, a lot of times we would get requests from guys back in the cells to be brought up front and to be allowed to use the phone up front. And so, you know, we'd have to go back, get them, escort them all the way up there and do all that. But, you know, I was just trying to cut that out, basically, and get these guys out, you know. So that's, I don't know, that's kind of what one of the things I was doing, was literally trying to help people out. Like, you know, my favorite part of the job was when people got out, when I got to release people and watch them leave. that was the best part of the job. There was a guy, he was one of our trustees, and he had come to jail for 6 months. You know, he is in jail for 6 months, and he was due to get out like pretty much the day before Christmas, right? But you know, if on the day you get out, as the booking officer, I'm supposed to run your name and see if you have any warrants anywhere, because you know, then if you have warrants, basically you'll end up staying in jail, right? So the guy, you know, he didn't even ask me or anything, but basically like 2 weeks before he was supposed to get out of jail, I got curious and looked his name up myself just to be sure he was going to be able to get out on time. And sure enough, he had a warrant with College Station PD. And I knew the city marshal. Like, I actually, you know, because I was a booking officer, I had to deal with him like every day basically. So I called him up. I was like, hey man, I got this guy. He's, you know, he was a trustee, so he was a good inmate. Like, he had been a really good inmate for the whole time he had been in jail. Basically, I called the College Station PD guy, and I had him come up and basically serve the warrant on him right then and there. And what that did is it made it to where the time that he was serving on that charge started right then and there, and it ended about 3 days before he was supposed to get out. So had I not done that, we would have just ran his name, found he had a warrant, and he would have done another like 4 days. He would have basically missed Christmas with his family, you know. And that was a cool thing. Like, I still, you know, that was one of my favorite like things that I did for anybody in there, I guess, was
I am overburdened.
like I made sure that guy got out on time. And he was, dude, he was pretty grateful. He was pretty happy. Because he knew, like, he had been to jail a bit, you know, and he knew that I didn't have to do that.
Good day.
Not really, the Suey. I actually didn't really see any of them out in the community. That's a big area though, you know, and I did live kind of out in the country, like out of town, so I wasn't really going into town a lot either. But yeah, I don't recall ever. I'm trying to think if I did. No, you know, I don't think so. Oh shit, I got this ring, man. Not while I was actually there, no. Like, the one guy had died just, you know, a few hours before we came into work, I guess. Or that morning. It was maybe about 12 hours before we came to work. There was one guy that was in one of our holding cells, and he had tried to, you know, kill himself. And he was getting blood draws at the doctor, and they were doing it in this one spot on his arm, so I guess he figured that was a good spot to poke himself. But he had somehow found a piece of wire that was about as big around as a pencil lead, but it was real stiff, you know. And we did find it after all this had happened. But you know, there was these 4 holding, or they were not holding cells, they were like separation cells that we had right there next to the desk as well, like right in the same area as the rubber room. And we had 4 really extreme inmates in these cells. Like, each guy had a reason to be in there, you know. And the guy that was in the first cell was the guy with the piece of wire, And then the next guy over was a very young guy. He was like 20 years old. He was in for doing stuff to kids, and so he had to be, back in there. And then the guy across the way was a white supremacist, basically. He had like swastikas tattooed on his neck and shit, so he couldn't go to General Pop. And then either way, the guy who was in for doing stuff to kids was mopping out his own cell, and while he was in the little hallway, because we had like the outer door locked so that he could be out of his own cell and mop it and stuff, and it's kind of hard to explain, but either way, he was in the hallway, and he had walked past the cell of the guy with the piece of wire, and he looked in there, and he just starts beating on the wall, and he's like, he's dying, he's fucking dying. And so we're like, oh shit. So Sergeant Jones jumped up and went straight into that room with the guy. I just knew that it was going to be a situation that we were going to have to get involved in. So I had jumped up and immediately ran over to the control room and said, give me a full set of keys. And as they were putting the keys in my hand, Sergeant Jones turned and yelled at me, give me a full set. And I ran back over there, and we go in, and the guy's outer, we had to unlock the first door to get into that whole area. And then the guy's cell door was still locked, and Sergeant Jones had the keys, and he went to unlock it, and I was looking in the window as he did, and it was like a horror movie. There was so much blood out of this man that nobody really knows how he lived. Like, it was fucking crazy, dude. Basically, the guy had taken this piece of wire and jammed it into his arm and sat there spinning it until he got a good-sized hole. And then he was just sitting there squirting his blood all over the walls of this cell. Just all over the walls. It, like I said, it looked like a horror movie. And then as he had gotten faint, he laid down on his bed and laid his arm over the edge. So he was laying there passed out on his bed, and there was so much blood on the floor, dude. I've never seen anything like this. There was, the whole floor of this cell was blood. Like, he must have just sprayed it everywhere. And I was kind of anticipating somebody hanging themselves because of the way the guy said, he's dying. I thought somebody was hanging, right? So I hadn't gloved up or anything, but I went straight into the room, and the guy had a towel on his bunk. I grabbed it, wrapped it around his arm, and just started holding pressure. And, he's bleeding all over me and shit. And No. I didn't even grab the towel. That's right. I went straight in and just grabbed his arm. And I was standing there, I was squatting down holding his arm, holding pressure on this wound for like 30 seconds. And then Sergeant Jones threw me the towel. When I let go of the guy's arm to wrap the towel around his arm, there was a lot of pressure built up, and he really sprayed blood like all over my pants and shit. And then I wrapped the towel around his arm, and I sat there holding it as tight as I could. I held pressure on it it was like 5 minutes before the ambulance crew could actually get up to us, because we're on the 4th floor. It's not just a regular elevator. You got to have a freaking key to get in there, and it took them a while. And the EMTs that came in, they said that they had never seen that much blood come out of a human being, and they survived. But that guy did survive. Which was crazy. I don't think he was very grateful, honestly. Like, I remember seeing him afterwards, and he didn't even know that I had saved him, but he just didn't seem like he wanted to be there. Yeah, it was fucked up. I had to go home and change my pants like right away after that. He got hauled away in the ambulance and everything, and then I was like I looked down at my pants, and they're just bloody as shit, and Sergeant Jones was like, yeah, you better go home and change. But my house was, it was like a half-hour drive, so it took me a good hour to go home and change, pretty much. And it was at like 2 o'clock in the damn morning, so that kind of sucked. But yeah, that was a pretty bad situation. The other thing, too, was that guy was also in for doing stuff to kids. So, and I didn't know that at the time. I don't think I would have done anything differently knowing that, but maybe. I don't remember that guy's name, and I don't think he is still alive. I'm not sure, but he was a bit older, and this was in like 2007 or so, or 2006-ish. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think he did, dude. That was pretty much the majority of the people in the jail. Like, up there in the max security and stuff, it was... most of those people were awaiting trial and going to prison for a very long time. There was a guy... and he was one of the nicer guys, and he actually... It was kind of fucked up, but he was actually a legit nice guy. Like, I think he just snapped one day, and just did something really horrible. But what he did was he caught his girl sleeping with another man, and he left that apartment, went straight up to the gas station, filled up like a fountain drink cup, like a 40-ouncer plastic cup of gasoline. And I guess the gas clerk didn't think anything of that, But either way, he filled up that cup of gasoline, went back to the apartment, threw the gas on both of them, and then lit them on fire and killed them both. And he was going to prison for 55 years is what he ended up getting sentenced to. But, if you didn't know that about this guy, you wouldn't believe it. Because he seriously was, for every bit of what I knew of him, he was a nice guy, and he was really cool. But, he had done something pretty fucked. Yeah, I'm sure it was in the news. But, I don't know. I don't remember exactly, when that was. I think it was sometime in 2006 or 2007. There was a state trooper that had got Officer of the Year. Like, the year that I started working at the jail, this state trooper was Officer of the Year because he had the most on-site arrests. He was like the super cop of the Texas state troopers, so he was like honored and shit for being Officer of the Year. And then the following year, he had arrested this chick for DUI, and she was very attractive, and I guess he thought he could get, some sort of deal worked out, so he told her that he could make all her charges go away if she slept with him. And she was like, oh, okay. And then she went and talked to the Texas Rangers, I think, which they're the cops that investigate cops in Texas. And so, they had her wear a wire and all this stuff, and she went and met with the guy, and he gave her all her paperwork and everything and basically erased her charges. And then he got fucking charged with all that, and ended up doing 4 years or some shit. There was another jailer, this chick that was working there when I first started, and I could tell, dude, she was bringing in food and drinks and stuff for the trustees. It was way beyond what we were allowed to do, and I could tell right away that something was not right, But then she had got caught. She was letting this male inmate go around and bang some of the female inmates, and I think she herself was having some sort of relationship with this guy and a couple other inmates. And it's like, one day I come to work and we had a pile of this inmate's mail, like all his letters, and we had to go through them, and sure enough we found one from this jailer to him, and then we also had found several where he was talking to his other girlfriends and shit and trying to arrange shit between her and them and stuff, you know. So yeah, she ended up going to jail for 2 years. Booming Swords, what's up, dude? You have to lift 45 bags of mulch. Dude, I need to go buy about fucking 45 bags of fucking mulch. God damn it. Hopefully work's going good for you though, dude. That's, you know, it's hard work, but you know, you'll get in shape. You gotta look at it like a video game, right? Like you're leveling up your strength and endurance stats like a motherfucker today. And if you keep doing enough of these side quests, you know, eventually you'll end up with something really nice. Like, I had proposed an idea for a life game, basically, where, you know, it would be like a mobile game that would pretty much track everything you do. You know, if you're a student in high school, then that's what you are in the game, right? And to earn XP, you have to actually do your homework, do your chores, do the things that are your role in life, right? And if you do them well, then you level up well in the game. And if you level up in life as well, then you level up in the game. Like, we could turn this whole thing into like a Life 2.0 type thing where, you know, if you want the best achievements, you're going to have to actually become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. Like, I don't know. I could see it being something. That's probably what the metaverse is. And I'm just high. It's the day after 420, you guys. What the hell do we do? My brain doesn't want to work. I've got so much yard work to do. Crap. Go back the way we came. That is fun. I like the sorceress. That would have taken me 10 minutes with my necromancer. You haven't gambled all day? Oh, good. What the hell have you even been doing? What would you say you do here? There he is.
I am overburdened.
It's the chevrons.
Seekers.
You want food and drink? Me too. That was not where I expected.
You have.
How may I help you?
The bitter gold scythe. It's crap.
Not in town. Not in town.
But I wanna in town. Starting to think these are always the same in the same spot. They're not though. I just wanted to see what the other ones were, but it was this one. Wow, that was fast. Yikes! Zap, 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 zap.
You have.
It is an honor to serve you.
Some carry-on brosias. Nope. 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 No thanks, Braj. Did I do tower already? I did. Oh, good. Well, I think that's going to do it, you guys. I don't know. I'm just kind of screwing around this morning. Telling you guys all these stories about my jailer life back in the day. But yeah. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time.